Oh, hi. Hi, my name is Anthony, and today we're going to be talking Cyborg. Alright, today we're going to be talking about Cyborg, the, not sequel, but homage to MÖRK BORG, and Donut here is going to be doing it with us, so you better say something nice to Donut. I'm also going to be going through this as if you have an introductory knowledge of what MÖRK BORG is. You at least know what it is. You don't have to know exactly how it's played, but just know that it's fucking awesome and I'm a fucking slut for it. Cyborg is an RPG set in a cyberpunk universe. In this, corporations rule the city, each of them wanting more and more power, building their own armies, and just controlling the mass. Your job is to just disrupt that mass and just be a total piece of shit and just have as much fun as you can in a cyberpunk world. But now what you need to know about any cyborg, or any Borgs of that matter, is that it is a rules-light RPG. So it's not going to have a lot of rules. What it's mostly going to have is just a book that is a beautiful art piece that is going to explain you different things about the world, and you're just going to pretend like you know what you're doing. First off, looking at some of these pages, it's not going to make any fucking sense, just like the book, and it sets a perfect tone for what you're into. First up, let's go through the worlds. First off, you have different regions. You have the hills, the ports, on water, enterprise region. You have a vast distinct of different places that you can explore in this world. And just like in MÖRK BORG, it gives you some information about it, but not a lot. And I love that. Borgs typically don't give you too much information about the world. Typically, RPGs are going to give you a vast amount of information that you are then going to play in its boundaries. In MÖRK BORG, it gives you a location, and it is up to you to just completely fill that with as much bullshit as you want. Cyborg does a fantastic job of doing that, just like its predecessor, MÖRK BORG. The art in this is absolutely fantastic. It gives you such a good feel of how the world is, and it's just distorted and just you can't quite make sense of it, but it's a beautiful and fun playground to just fuck around in. The locations that they give you in this are so fucking weird. Like, you have factory meat farms. It doesn't tell you what the meat is. It is up to you to decide what it could be. It just gives you some honorable locations and just some sort of information about them, and I love that. I love it to bits. But a notable location I kind of want to talk about is the net. Now, of course, since you're in a cyberpunk universe, there's the internet. The net is everywhere. It's inside of everybody. It's anywhere. It's all the information overlapping with current reality. The only way I can kind of describe it is if you have like our reality and then the net, and then it just kind of goes like this. I don't know. That's the best way I can describe it. Just know that it is an extra dimension to the world. But now that we have kind of a general view of how the world is, now how does the world work? Well, just like in MÖRK BORG, the end is coming. And this is a fact, and it's fucking awesome. It allows you the freedom of just doing whatever you kind of want. In MÖRK BORG, the two-headed basilisk has foreseen the future, and the world is coming. It is up to the DM to determine how long they have. You have days, weeks, months, years, and every single one of those increments, you're gonna roll on a table of miseries, and something in the world is going to change. In Cyborg, it is exactly the same, except the end of the world is that you figure out, spoiler, it's a simulation. And that's so fucking cool. You get 7 of these, so let's say you want it in a matter of days. At the end of the week, you know that, hey, you have 12 hours, and then the simulation runs its course, and it's going to completely restart. Now, for these miseries, you're gonna roll, and you're gonna figure out what exactly misery you have. And each time you roll, it's gonna get worse and worse. For example, on the first misery, you could have anti-human bioterror attacks. The body count climbs after the bio-bombing of several passenger cars earlier tonight. All metro, monorails, and tram carts are closed. Pretty cool. And then you get things like on the 6th day, where Winter Cove Square nuked. The mushroom cloud rises over Psy, that's the name of the city, at South Central, with all of its arcs and corporate headquarters and the hitherto immortal fat cats, cease to be. Now there's a damn nuke that explodes in the fucking city. And then finally on the 7th day, like I said, you're living in a simulation. Reactor Magnificus Professor Dr. Duru Evren at Psy-U has found proof that the world is a simulation run by unknown entities. Oh, I love that. I love that. In case you haven't guessed already, I'm a big fan of just things that just completely change the world as you play. I just adore that. And just the fact that at the end of this, you just reset completely, or you can find a way to exit, depending on what your GM wants to do, is so goddamn cool! But now that we kind of understand how the world works, which is just mega corporations trying to take over the city, and each day, month, year, whatever, it gets worse and worse until it resets. But how do you play? Well, let's go over character creation. Character creation is incredibly easy. It even lays it out to you right here. Super simple, super easy, but here's how you do it. First off, let's determine what we have. You're gonna roll 3 different dice. A D8, a D12, and a D12. This is gonna determine what you can carry and what you're already carrying. Super simple, 3 dice. Next up we have your abilities, and your abilities here are a little bit different than what you might be used to in MÖRK BORG. It has added a 5th ability, which is knowledge. Knowledge is going to allow you to use science and just tech stuff, while the rest of your abilities essentially do the same thing that they did in MÖRK BORG. Agility, sneak, dodge, presence, shoot with long range stuff and just observe things. Strength, pretty much your entire attack modifier, and then toughness, which is just your ability to, your hit points essentially, and your ability to resist. You're gonna be rolling 3d6 for each of those, adding them all up, and then looking on the table here, and that's gonna be your modifier. Now notice that it is possible to get a negative modifier off the bat, which is fucking awesome. Each of these are gonna be rolled against a difficulty rating, which is 12. 12 is the standard difficulty ratings in pretty much all of the Borgs, and passing it just means that you need to get a 12 or above on a d20. So let's say I'm rolling to hit somebody and my strength is +3, and I rolled a 9. 9 plus 3 is 12, which means I hit this person. Fantastic. However, if I would have rolled under that 12, I fail and the DM gets to do something pretty funny. After you've rolled all your abilities, you'll just need to roll for your health, which is just your toughness plus a d8. Super simple. It is possible to get a negative value, such as, let's say your toughness, you rolled like a -1, and then you rolled a 1 on your d8. Then you have a value of 0, however, you cannot go below 1, so you just have health at 1. Now, there are optional classes that you can do in here. You have Nanomancer, which is just essentially just a necromancer with nanobots, which is fucking awesome. You have other things like Burned Hacker, which just makes you a specialist at hacking stuff with a net. Or the Discharged Corp Killer, you're super effective with guns. Orphaned Gearhead, Renegade Cyber Slasher? Renegade Cyber Slasher. Cool as shit. Now these are optional, they do change how you create your character, which is perfectly fine. It tells you pretty much right there what you're gonna roll, and easy peasy. However, for a general class, just do what I just told you before. Now you get to roll on tables, and I fucking love tables. There's tables all the time. Yes, your style, feature, wants, quirk, current obsession. I fucking love tables! Now these are all optional, however, they do help you flesh out your character, which I definitely recommend because why the fuck not? These things are cool as hell. But probably something even more exciting is rolling for your weapon. All you're gonna do is you're gonna roll a d12, and that's gonna tell you your weapon. For an example, you can get a broken bottle, machete, throwing knives, or up to a pulse rifle or sniper rifle. You then get to roll for your armor, or your class may determine what you automatically get. Armor has different tiers, such as tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and each of these are going to reduce the amount of damage you take, respectively. On your character, you're also going to have to roll for debt, which is how much money you're going to be in debt already, which kind of drives your motivation on wanting to cause havoc or do jobs during your campaign. Previously in MÖRK BORG, since it's more of a dark fantasy setting, you have just things like bow and arrows and crossbows, and here you have straight up guns. And of course, you're gonna have to keep track of your ammo. However, Cyborg does a super simple way of, after combat, roll a d8 or a d6 if you use auto fire, and on a result of 1 or 3, you're out of ammo. Above that, you still have ammo. Easy! You also have mods that you can add to your ammo, which is really fucking cool. And that's essentially it for creating a character. It's super easy. It might take you 3 minutes, and the majority of that is you trying to figure out a funny name. Now we get into some of the fun mechanics, such as drugs. Drugs, of course, are running rampant inside, and you get to take some at your own cost. They give you bonuses, however, there are some side effects. You get things like O-Sleep, which makes it so you don't need to sleep. However, you do fall unconscious after 2 days of use. Or there are some with no side effects, such as Red Juice, which just heals you. Now, these are pretty cool utilities that you can use to just make you better. However, since this is cyberpunk, we want cybernetics, which are fucking awesome. First off, the art for this page kicks ass. Second, the table of cybernetics enhancements that you can have also kicks ass. Look at that! You can have fucking additional eyes, more joints. You can have a body gun. With a body gun, you can have smart hair. It's just so cool. It's so cool. And then of course for the tech freak, we now have apps which you can use to just hack different things and just do different things around the world, like trigger an alarm, or distract somebody with making a visual appear somewhere, opening doors, just, you know, pretty cool hack stuff. Now you get into the kind of magic system of this world, which is just nanopowers, or just nanobots. These have come from space, and they are pretty useful. You have powers like 2 dust, which is just turning something into dust, or you can make somebody obey your command. really cool, really powerful things that you can do. And of course, you have to roll to see if you do it, and if you fumble, then bad things are gonna happen as well. We now get into glitches though, and glitches by the art seems pretty bad. However, these are awesome. Glitches are this game's version of miseries, or for D&D terms, these are your inspirations, but kind of more powerful. Not only does it let you re-roll your dice, but it allows you to re-roll your opponent's dice, or to do double damage whenever you want, or reduce the damage you take. You typically get 1 or 2 of these use per day, depending on what you've rolled, or you might get more depending on the class that you've chosen. So how exactly do you die? Well, we've already established what your hit points are, but what happens when you go to 0? What happens when you get below 0? Well, if you get to 0, you roll on a table and things might happen. You might either lose a body part, or fall unconscious, or just be perfectly fine. However, if you take more than 0 and you get into the negative, you're automatically dead, unless this is cyberpunk. So if you have enough money, then you have a chance that an ambulance comes and saves you, which is super futuristic and grotesque. Now there's a bunch of more stuff that you can roll for and get. However, I do want to get into combat. Combat in this is super simple, and I love this system. This is what's known as a player-focused combat system. You are going to be rolling for your attack and for your defense. The Game Master is not going to be rolling anything. They're simply going to determine which enemy is attacking who, and that's it. So like I kind of said in your abilities, you're going to have 2 that you're going to be looking out for. You're going to have your agility and your strength. Your strength is what you're going to roll to hit somebody. So roll a d20, add your strength. If it's a 12 or above, you hit them. Now, when you get hit, you have to dodge out of the way. So roll a d20 plus your agility, and if you get a 12 or above, you get to dodge and ignore the hit. Easy as that. When you get hit though, so let's say your agility sucks, you have armor, which we also talked about. Damage reduction is based on the armor rating, which is what you rolled for. Tier 1 is a D2, Tier 2 is a D4, Tier 3 is a D6. Once you take damage, you're simply going to roll that dice and subtract that amount. But other than that, that's all there is. Roll to see if you hit, then roll the damage of your weapon. The opponent's just gonna hit you, and you're gonna see if you dodge out of the way, and if you get hit, just roll to see how much damage you reduce. Now, of course, you get natural 20s and natural 1s, which are criticals or fumbles. If you critical on somebody, you get to do double damage and reduce their armor rating by 1. If you fumble on somebody, then you lose your weapon or break it. If you critical on dodging, you get to do a free attack on the person, but if you fail on the dodge, then they reduce your armor rating by 1. Now there's a bunch of different combat mods that you can do, such as all of these listed here. However, they are completely optional and do with what you want with this information. But that's it. All you do is roll a d20, add the skill, and that's it. You're free to go. You then have this super interesting character that you spent 3 minutes building, and you just get to explore the world and just feel it out. It's fucking awesome. But who do you fight? Who do I fight? I want to fight with my super cool body. Well, let's take a look at some of these enemies. You have guards and goons, classic. You have Raging Menaces, which look absolutely terrifying. You have whatever this is, which looks scary. I don't want to get hit by that. You have drones, of course. You have Enhanced Beast. You have Droids, which look cool as hell. You have these heads, these gross looking heads. And then just bloated that explode, and just combat vehicles, and just this mech, and oh, there's just so much cool stuff in here. And this is just the surface. You can create whatever you want, and just, it's so cool. But now we get to my favorite part, data. In other words, just tables. Tables and tables and tables. God, I love tables! Tables are my favorite part of Borgs, and not a lot of people enjoy them because they might think that it's lazy. However, I disagree. I believe tables help the creative mindset by throwing a wrench in your gear and you having to improvise why this matters. It's a creative tool that adds story and adds interesting things to your world. For example, you have style, feature, role, obsession, quirks, NPC table for wants, mission generators. You have job generators, you have targets, different things that you can go and hunt for, different locations to go and do things at, geolocation of different things if you need it, location features, security, complications, corporation generators for your own, cult generators, just different generators to help the GM flesh out the world in a unique and different way. It's absolutely fucking awesome. I need to settle down. I'm getting a little too loud and cussing a little too much. But the tables here are absolutely fantastic, and it's It's just so cool. I mean, it's an aid. It helps you out to do really freaking awesome things. Lastly, we have a mission that you can go on, which is pretty neat and pretty interesting, and does a pretty damn good job at introducing you to kind of what the world is in store for you. I'm not going to go too much into it to spoil anything, but I definitely recommend it as your first mission. My final thoughts on this, though, is that this is a beautiful second coming of MÖRK BORG. MÖRK BORG is phenomenal. It broke me away from traditional RPGs and introduced me to more simple and just more freeing, and I've never had more fun playing. And Cyborg does a great job at doing that. It gives me what I want in a cyberpunk setting. It gives me the freedom to imagine what I think cyberpunk should be without giving me too many limits and constraints, and still keeps it deadly fun and interesting. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. This was just kind of an overview and how to play Cyborg. Hopefully you enjoyed it and pick it up. I definitely recommend it. For the life of me, this is a perfect second coming in my opinion, and I cannot wait to play more of it. But with that, I definitely encourage you to pick it up and get your own opinions on this matter, and just definitely give it a go. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.